All right, talk to me.
Can you hear me?
Hello, hello.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right.
You hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you good. Let me bring Will up. He wanted to talk to you.
Okay.
Question mark.
Hello.
Bark twice if you're in Milwaukee.
Hello, 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 hello.
Hey.
How we doing?
So Clemson has played at 11.
Wow.
Including 10 in the fourth. We're still playing in the fourth.
Jeez.
We've now gone to their sixth different arm this inning.
That's just like that's a not a rain delay, but a run delay. Ha 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 ha.
It's a Metzian meltdown is what it is.
I like that. It's a run delay.
No. Beer homered, Davidson homered. 2 runs came in on wild pitches, couple of bases loaded walks. One pitcher got knocked out on a collision at home plate off of a wild pitch.
Okay, well, now you're in position to open the show and run normal from where you are right now, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's just run it normal that way until you have to go do post. You may not even have to do post as slow as that game is moving.
I'm saying as long as this inning is going, Corn, we're still on the top of the fourth.
Yeah.
They're not. We're not gonna finish while we're on air.
Right, right. And we are, of course, crawling along here. It's 5-3. Auburn leading Ole Miss. Ole Miss got a little threat going here. Ole Miss got a little threat going here in the eighth. Did they just score a run?
In front of you, right?
5-3. 5-3. Say what? Is it 5-4?
There's still one game going on in front of you, yes?
I think he scored a minute ago. There was a runner on third. I think he scored previously. Yeah. Auburn and Ole Miss are going on right now. They're in the bottom of the eighth. 5-3 Auburn. Ole Miss is the home team.
Is there another game between you and the Carolina game?
Oh, of course. What are you talking about? Yeah, we're looking at another opportunity to see the sunrise here at the stadium.
Oh, that's awesome.
nothing like sunrise at the Hoover Met.
I hate tournament baseball. So bad. So bad.
Yeah, it's just, like last night in the South Carolina game, we can talk about this. You talk about the pace of baseball. During one at-bat.
Just hit one. Second homer of the inning.
Who did?
Davidson. Who did? Second homer of the inning.
So during one at-bat for South Carolina last night, besides the actual time it took between the pitches, you had a meeting at the mound. You had several step-offs from the pitcher looking at the runner at second. You had a meeting at the plate between Kingston and the batter. I'm telling you, it was about a 7-minute at-bat.
Oh, and the homer by Davidson, a grand slam. It's 15-3.
Wow. They were down 3-0, weren't they?
They were down 3-0. They've scored 15 unanswered runs.
Wow. How's your crowd?
Sparse.
We've had good crowds here. Of course, Auburn's going to bring people. LSU and Mississippi State always bring people.
Record for runs in an inning.
Gamecocks never bring anybody. Even when they're good, they never bring anybody.
Georgia Tech, and again, 775 versus Wake Forest. And again,
Of course, they're good. I can't say when the game. They're pretty good this year. 18 league wins. 12-4 in their last 16.
Hey, Phil.
Yo.
I turned y'all down, man.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I just did. You heard what you said, but I just did it so I can start everything.
All right. All right, so we'll run it through him. Hong Kong. Hey, if you can communicate with Will, tell him to communicate with me through a text message.
Okay.
Come on.
It's time for the final word in sports all across the state. You're listening to Sports Talk with your hosts, Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. You've been waiting all day, so join the show now by calling 800-956-7266.
We were pitching well, so the game was within striking distance. You know, if a lot of these Tuesday games, it started to get away from us a little bit, and then you feel like, it's just not our night. But our pitching did a really nice job tonight of keeping it close, keeping it within striking distance, and then we were able to find a way later in the game.
He's still, at this point, number one. If we played today, when we came into spring, that was an easy statement to say because you got to start somewhere. Kelly has had a really good spring again, but those guys behind him have had a great spring as well. And if we played today, Kelly'd run out there, but we don't play today. We play in September.
And a pleasant good evening to you and yours, and welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network on this Wednesday, the 23rd day of May, 2018. We are broadcasting from 3 different locales. Professor Tom Hayes sits in our Main Street Columbia studios. Phil Kornblut is at the Hoover Met, the SEC Baseball Tournament, and I'm Will Pelagic here at the ACC Baseball Tournament in Durham. South Carolina rescues its opportunity to try and get some work done in the SEC Tournament with a come-from-behind victory last night, which we'll get to, of course, in earnest. Clemson has released its football depth chart that will go into the preseason, and certainly something to be very, very curious about where the quarterbacks are and some of the other positions as well. And Clemson has begun play in the ACC tournament, Corn, and I have to tell you, even since we last spoke before the broadcast, Clemson's added to it. I'm going to give you the score right now. It's 18-3. We are playing in the top of the 4th inning. Still, Clemson has plated 17 runs in the inning. That is a new ACC tournament record. They've done so via 4 home runs, a pair from Logan Davidson from both sides of the plate. Before this year, no Clemson player has homered from both sides of the plate in the program's history. Logan Davidson has done so twice, and today he did so in 1 inning. Seth Beer went deep. Chris Williams hit the bull. Yes, that bull, as in Bull Durham, because we are in the city of Durham. They're still batting in the top of the 4th inning. 17 home in the inning. 18-3 Clemson leads Notre Dame. And by the way, Clemson started out this game trailing 3-0. So how do you
Wow. That's incredible. That is incredible. Now, are they going to do the run rule thing in this game? Can they do the 10-run rule?
No.
I don't believe they can because although, depending on whether or not it ends up in a curfew situation, obviously, as we've been saying all day with you on South Carolina Radio Network, this game virtually means nothing because Notre Dame lost last night and the inning mercifully comes to an end. 18 runs come in. And by the way, 7 of those runs scored. 7 out of the 9 hitters scored twice in the inning for Clemson. So that's amazing. It took them 6 pitchers to get through the inning with basically all the ones that they had with pitching changes. They had 1 collision at home plate that forced the pitcher out due to injury. But 18-3, middle of the 4th. I do not know whether they can curfew this game or not, Corn.
Yeah, well, they should. They should, and let Clemson rest up and get ready for the game that really means something to them. But hey, what do they care about time in baseball? We played until 2:30 in the morning, give or take a couple of minutes. That's 2:30 Eastern time in the morning last night before South Carolina got that 4-2 win over Missouri. Much like Clemson, the Gamecocks trailed in that game 2-0 and then scored 4 unanswered and scored 3 runs in the 7th to put that game away and to continue their very fine play here of late. Now that's 18 SEC wins for the Gamecocks since the second half of the season rolled around. They have gone 12-4 in SEC play. That's outstanding under any circumstances. So they are a very confident and very hot baseball team. Last night they got excellent pitching out of their bullpen. Gilreath came in. Now, he wasn't excellent. He walked 2, but got a strikeout in 1/3 of an inning. But Dumorius and Lawson followed him. The 3 of them only allowed 1 hit in back of Carmen Mazinski, who was making his SEC debut in terms of facing an SEC team. And he did okay. 2 earned runs, 3 hits over 5 innings. I think that Mark Kingston was very pleased with what he saw from Mazinski. So the Gamecocks win. They advance to play a very, very good Arkansas team tonight. Logan Chapman will be the starting pitcher tonight for the Gamecocks. He was their winner earlier in the year when they won at Arkansas. And that was the last series in SEC play that the Gamecocks lost. But their one win in Fayetteville was the only SEC loss at home by Arkansas this season. And that was the series in which the Gamecocks won the opener by a 3-2 count, and then they played 2 7-inning games on that Saturday because of weather, and they got shut out in both of those games. Chapman, he wasn't the winner. Let me correct myself. He started that game. The Gamecocks won. He went 4 innings, allowed only 7 hits and 2 earned runs. It was Sawyer Bridges who relieved him, who actually got the win. But Chapman pitched pretty well, 72 pitches in that game. Again, 4 innings, 7 hits, and 2 earned runs, and that was a pretty good outing for him. Now, the Gamecocks are going to see a left-hander tonight in Arkansas, someone that beat them in the second game of that series in Fayetteville by a 2-0 count. Casey Murphy went 6 innings that game, allowed just 1 hit, struck out 6. So another tough left-hander the Gamecocks will be facing tonight in a game, a guy that did pretty well against them. But then again, they saw 2 pitchers from Missouri last night who had success against them, and they managed to get 9 hits combined off of those guys and get the win.
Yeah, I think Mark Kingston has brought the pitching machine with him, so I think they'll be ready tonight. But, Corn, when you get around to getting the confidence that South Carolina is playing with now, I don't think they really care who's on the mound. As long as they see baseball, hit baseball. I think that's the way they're thinking right now.
I think so much of what happened last night is just kind of feeding off the confidence they've had over the last 4 or 5 weeks. They have a lot of mojo going with them. Even when they go down, they don't feel like they're out of a game. They feel like they have the ability to make that happen. And, as you saw them kind of, one hitting is contagious, much like we see here at Durham. Clemson was down, and they were down 3-0, and they just got a couple of hits put together. And
that was a pandemic.
All of a sudden, it ends up coming like the floodgates, and the same thing happened for South Carolina last night. And you wonder, too, if the fact that they're walking in now to a double elimination format, how that plays into South Carolina's approach, and the fact, too, that they believe they probably owe Arkansas some measure of revenge, Corn.
Well, absolutely. And again, I mean, every win that they can get here only solidifies their hopes of being a number 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. They moved up a little bit in the RPI. I think they're 29 going into tonight's game, so they keep improving in that area. And, last night when they had their rally in the 7th inning, it wasn't like they blasted the ball all over the place. They scored the tying run on a bases-loaded walk. They scored the go-ahead run on a sacrifice fly, and then Jonah Bride got a base hit to score the insurance run to put them up 4-2. So, I mean, it wasn't like they were blasting it all over the park. Missouri's pitchers did a pretty good job from that standpoint. But, the Gamecocks have developed this never-say-die attitude when they fall behind. They just sort of chip away, and the pitching kept them in the ball game. The pitching, when the game maybe could have gotten away from them, the pitching and the defense kept the Gamecocks in it and gave them a chance to win. Now, what's happened here so far today? Texas A&M shuts out Georgia 7-0. So the Aggies making a strong claim for a tournament bid with 2 wins in this tournament thus far. Their pitching has been outstanding. They've allowed just 11 hits over their first 2 games that they have won. The game going on right now, we're in the top of the 9th. It's Auburn leading Ole Miss 5-3. Auburn is the visiting team and threatening with runners on the corners and nobody out.
The game earlier today, before this one, a 10-2 victory for Louisville over Wake Forest. So 3 of the bottom 4 seeds in the ACC lose. Pitt is the only one that wins. They will play on a winner-take-all for Pool A coming up on Thursday. That will take place. That will take place after this one. So the first semifinal participant will be determined later on tonight following this Clemson contest. We'll let you know what's going on in the other 2 pools as well, and keep you updated from here in Durham as well as in Hoover when Sports Talk continues here on South Carolina Radio Network.
All right, Brian, how's it sounding from here?
Sound good, man.
Good. What am I looking at?
Read the comic.
Which one? The whole thing?
Yeah.
What does a chicken give us? Eggs. What does a pig? What does a fat cow give us? Homework. That's good. That's good. That's good. Okay, that's up there. Well, good. No, that's up there. That's up there. Yeah. Let's, big South Southern. Big South Southern and okay.
Sports Talk is the sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. From the coast to the mountains, we cover it all.
Welcome back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Again, Clemson comfortably ahead of Notre Dame 18-3 after their 17 runs they scored in their half of the top of the fourth inning. We play currently here in the bottom of the fourth inning with Notre Dame batting. South Carolina playing tonight against Arkansas following their win last night over Missouri. Still got some other games going on across the state teams, rather, that we'll continue to update with you here over the course of our day today. It was Liberty beating Charleston Southern in the Big South 7-2, eliminating Charleston Southern. A High Point and Radford played today. Longwood and Winthrop also yet to get underway in the Big South tournament. We'll keep you, again, abreast of what's going on there. Coastal Carolina also getting set to put themselves in the driver's seat as well. They play, again, against South Alabama. And, of course, we'll keep you updated on what's going on in the CAA with College of Charleston as well. Corn, what's going on with you there in the SEC?
Okay, we're still playing here, top of the ninth inning. Auburn is still batting. Auburn has the bases loaded, and Auburn is leading Ole Miss 5-3, 5-7-1 for Auburn, 3-6-1 for Ole Miss. Let's go back on a couple of things that you were touching on. Coastal Carolina today was a winner over UT Arlington 12-2. So the Chanticleers in their first game there in the tournament advances. South Alabama, another game there, beat Georgia Southern 5-3. And then at the CAA, College of Charleston 10-3 over Hofstra. Wilmington beat Delaware 2-1. So the Cougars advance in the winner's bracket side of that tournament. And then at the Big South tournament, Winthrop was a loser to Gardner-Webb earlier today, 7-5. And so the Eagles tonight will play Longwood in an elimination game in that tournament. And earlier today as well, Liberty was a 4-2 winner over Charleston Southern. That eliminates the Buccaneers. Also, High Point is leading Radford 5-0. That's in the bottom of the fifth inning. And the Southern Conference tournament today, it was Mercer pounding VMI. See, they called this game in 7 innings, 19-0. Mercer defeats VMI. I'm wondering, again, if the ACC doesn't have that 7-inning, 10-run rule. Western Carolina beat Greensboro 10-2. And right now, Furman is playing Samford. It's a 1-0 Samford lead over Furman as they play the middle of the 6th inning. One more game to go tonight. It's Wofford against East Tennessee State. So I think you're up to date on all the action involving state teams and the leagues around the country.
Certainly a lot going on. We'll keep you as abreast of it as we can here over the course of our day today and the rest of the week here on Sports Talk and South Carolina Radio Network. We're going to get you the latest thoughts on Clemson's depth chart release, but the first things first, the saga of Josh Belk's recruiting continues after his transfer from Clemson. He took his visit to South Carolina today, Corn, but also some chatter about some potential dirty pool in the water.
Yeah, we'll talk more about his visit and all that when we do recruiting coming up a little bit later on. But last night, so this was after we went off the air, a story was posted by Robert McCray. In fact, I guess Robert's there with you covering Clemson. This is on the Clemson Insider website. And I know the first thing people do when they don't agree with a story is attack the source and attack the writer and the truthfulness and the whatever type of knowledge that writer might have about a situation. Is that a grand slam? As I was talking, we just had a grand slam hit by Auburn. So that's going to probably put this one away for Auburn. That's going to make it, let's see, a 9-3 Auburn lead in the top of the ninth. So what's going to be interesting is here today so far, if this lead holds up, as it probably will, 2 teams that had to win yesterday in single elimination will have won their games today. So a little bit of a trend developing there. But anyway, back to this story. So McCray wrote on his website last night that a source confirmed to his website that there was contact between Belk and at least one member of the South Carolina coaching staff before Belk's decision to transfer from Clemson. He continued later to write, there has been a lot of discussion about why Clemson would grant an unconditional release when they knew that tampering had taken place. A source close with the knowledge, he writes, of that situation told them the reason was that they granted the unconditional release because they fully expect the new transfer rules to remove the conditional release so that now when you get a transfer release from your school, you're free to go everywhere. So that is what he wrote. And, of course, we retweeted that on our timeline because we retweet information that they put out that is pertinent. And, listen, these guys are tied into Clemson. They have their sources, and that's what they think when they get their information. Of course, what this doesn't tell you is, number one, it's entirely possible that, yeah, there was contact between the two, but it's possible he could have initiated the contact. It's entirely reasonable to think that it's possible that the player initiated contact with the school once he decided he was going to leave that school, and that contact was made before he got the public release. I'm not saying that it happened or it didn't happen, but whatever the case may be, I mean, I fully believe that if Clemson had knowledge of tampering, in particular by South Carolina, that they would have publicly not given him a complete and conditional release, whatever they think the rules might become in the future. Right now, those rules have not been changed, and there's no guarantee that they will be. But that was a story that they put out last night.
Yeah, this is a weird thing. Number one, so much has been said about the young man that really is not repeatable from different people who are saying it, not only off the air to us, but things that are all across social media. And, for whatever reason it is, he just didn't want to be there anymore. Whether it's the family issues, whether it's some of the other things that are being reported that are unsubstantiated, he just didn't want to be there anymore. And I think too much has been made over why and over how it happened. And unfortunately, it's going to become a bit of a side story toward his recruitment. And like we've said before, if he ends up anywhere else other than South Carolina, it kind of throws the original tenor of that story into a little bit of a tailspin. Now, if he ends up at South Carolina after his visit today, and again, on all accounts, it went very well, and Corn will give you more updates on that throughout the day. But in my opinion, too much is being said about this whole thing. I understand that. I understand that this is a booming industry with recruiting, but I feel like too much slander of the young man has occurred here, Pro.
Yes, it has. It's almost to the point of character assassination. Also, anybody who writes for a living, I think probably your gray matter should come before your emotions when you put fingers to keyboard, and that's all I say about that. But
well, also you have to keep in mind too. Robert is not attacking his professionalism, his credibility, or anything like that. But I mean, he almost all those guys on those websites are going to write in a way that's going to protect their school and their sources, which in this case happens to be their football coaches, and put them in the best light as possible whenever possible. If there's a situation or a story that they can't write that way, they don't touch the story for the most part. So I think that, whatever information they think they have, they're going to put it out there that makes their situation look in the best light, especially when it comes to dealing with a rival school. I mean, this Alabama Auburn situation like this happening, say with Auburn, a writer for Auburn against something happening with Alabama, they're going to do the same thing with their people at Auburn, try to put them in the best light. That's how they get subscribers. That's how they stay in business. Which brings me to my next thought, not on this matter, but kind of related. It was announced today by Cox Media that they are shutting down their internet operation, SEC Country, which I think is a shock to anybody who follows sports in the Southeast, because they were doing a heck of a job. They employed a lot of writers at schools all around the SEC, in some cases multiple writers covering the teams day to day and the recruiting. Guys, this is a pretty big shock to the sports reporting business, but it also tells you that the business model of trying to survive without charging subscriptions is a tough way to go.
Yeah, our best to our friend Hal McGranahan, who writes for South Carolina's SEC Country, and all those things are certainly a tad discouraging. We'll continue here on Sports Talk in a moment.
Number 8, Will Goldson.
Mercurial.
Number 25, Tim Elko. Pitching for Ole Miss, now number 44, Carl Kindle.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
Can you talk? I'm going to have to email. Do you already did Will put Kingston and Bride? In? I can no longer access the Sports Talk folder from afar. Did he already put those in the folder? Do we have a folder for tonight?
No, I don't have any folder.
All right, I'm going to email you to. I'm going to email you Kingston and Jonah Bride. You want me to send it to Sports Talk Go Live?
Say it again.
I'm going to email you the interviews, the post game with Kingston and Jonah Bride. You want me to send it to Sports Talk Go Live or to Sports Talk Live at Sports Talk Live at Gmail?
Yeah, that should be the one on the computer already.
All right, coming at you. Bum, bum, ba-da-da-da, dun, dun, dun.
More and more I research this corn, come to the conclusion, I think that if it is 10 after 7, they will call the game.
Yeah.
So it's 19-3 right now. They're in the 5th. Clemson tacked on another run on the top of the 5th inning to lead 19-3 after scoring 1 in the 3rd, 17 in the 4th, and 1 in the 5th inning. So
wow.
We might actually get this game maybe put us back somewhat on track for the game that will follow us here, which is North Carolina and Pittsburgh. That is a scheduled for 7 o'clock start that won't start on time but might start closer to on time if this one is allowed to be completed via mercy rule. I did want to get to a couple of comments on the Josh Belk story on our Twitter, some of the more I would say fairer ones. One of them basically concerns the talk about just whether or not this puts any kind of taint on Dabo's release because of the fact that Dabo released Belk. And they did it, a lot of the narrative was he did it out of the goodness of his heart because of the situation involving potentially the family issues that involve Josh Belk. I don't think any of us were a proponent of that narrative, guys. I thought that we kind of all were in agreement. Dabo really had no choice because this is the smartest move to make if you want to maintain relations with the high schools in your own state.
Well, for sure. But again, if we take it at face value, absolutely. We all talked about this earlier when it came out, and we all like everybody else sort of joined in the same choir, and this is singing the praises of them doing the right thing here. Yes, letting the guy go wherever he wants to go. He's got a family issues, got family concerns. And as we dig in a little bit deeper into this thing, we find out yes, he's got some family things going on, but maybe there were some other things happening that, like you said earlier, he just wasn't happy there anymore, and he felt it was best to go somewhere else. I fully believe, and I don't know this, I'm just going on my personal feelings, that if Clemson knew that there was tampering by South Carolina or anybody else, they would not have given him a complete release like that. Because by then you're just giving in to your competition when you do that, and you're just sort of winking at the fact that that they violated tampering rules if indeed they did. So that's why I question that. And as I answer this question, Auburn has beaten Ole Miss 9-3 to advance into the winner's bracket deeper. And this is a bit of an upset, of course. And Auburn coming out of the single elimination round yesterday gets its second straight win, 9-8-2 for the Tigers, 3-7-2 for Ole Miss. So that means our next game, they should start about 7:05 Eastern time, and so we're probably looking at a Gamecock start tonight, depending on the pace of that game. Much like last night, it's going to be 10:15, 10:30. Well, I think last night at Eastern time it might have started about 11:30. So we might be a little bit ahead of schedule compared to last night.
Yeah, you're still going to be tantalizing the potential sunrise in beautiful Hoover.
Yeah.
Moving on, the Clemson depth chart for the fall released today. I don't think this is a surprise, gentlemen, but Kelly Bryant is your starter going into fall camp ahead of Trevor Lawrence and Chase Bryce. Also, Ben Batson listed behind Bryce through freshman walk-on. Some of the other notables, Travis Etienne at running back starting over Adam Choice and Tavian Feaster, who are both second. Hunter Renfrow, Amari Rogers, T. Higgins, Trevion Thompson will split reps at the wide receiver. Among the freshmen that are cracking depth on offense, Jackson Carman, third team on the offensive line, as well as Darion Kendrick, who did so on the offensive side of the football as well. Nothing really changing on the defensive side other than Kendall Joseph going ahead of Trey Lamar at middle linebacker. Isaiah Simmons will play basically a combo nickelback and slot back spot that's vacated by Dorian O'Daniel. J.D. Davis steps into the weak side linebacker position, and A.J. Terrell and Mark Fields splitting reps at cornerback. But just on the surface, guys, Bryant over Lawrence, it hasn't been expressly said by Clemson, but at least now they are saying so that this is Bryant's job to lose right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, no surprise. I mean, coming out of the spring, I mean, Dabo said that they were going to play a game that day, a real game that day. Bryant would be their starter. So I don't think there's any great surprise about that. I think we're going to see competition continues over the summer and into the fall camp and see what happens about 2 weeks before that opening game. If Kelly continues to play at a high level in their opinion and doesn't do anything to mess it up, then he'll probably be that guy that starts against Furman. But I do think we're going to see Trevor Lawrence early and a lot, and maybe in a predominant fashion as the season begins or as the season rolls forward. All depends on how Kelly Bryant plays and if the Clemson offense gives a complete offensive attack in terms of the passing game and the running game at a level they think they can use to get to a national championship situation once again.
Yeah, I think the thing about it is I just think a freshman quarterback, no matter how talented he is, you don't want to add any undue pressure on the guy. And I understand that he's dealt with pressure situations before. He's been in the limelight. But this is different when you're jumping into a college experience. And let him learn everything, slowly without the pressure, knowing, well, you're our starter now. And I can just imagine if I'm 17 or 18 years old, 19 years old again, and somebody says, hey, this job is yours, and you got about several weeks to stew over it before you take the helm, I think that would be bad on the young man. So I think probably from a psyche standpoint, you want to deal with a freshman quarterback that way. Also, Kelly Bryant, in my opinion, has not done anything yet to lose the starting job. And let's face it, guys, this team's defense, especially their defensive line, whoever's going to quarterback, they're going to turn some people over, and they're going to have ample opportunity to put points on the board for this Tiger team.
I doubt that we get an answer after Furman, and I also don't know if that's the best barometer to see who the best quarterback on this team is. But, I mean, what in your mind, Corn, has to happen for them to just say, you know what, Trevor Lawrence is going to start at College Station?
Well, I think that to say what has to happen for him to start at College Station, I mean, I don't know. Again, all due respect to Furman, we expect Clemson to go up and down the field on Furman and put that game away as they should. And I would imagine that Kelly will have if he's a starting quarterback, I would imagine that he'll have a good ball game, throwing and running. They'll keep it pretty simple. I don't think they'll put a whole lot of their offense out there for Texas A&M to get on video, and they may even limit. I mean, they've got plenty of video on Kelly Bryant. They have no video except for a spring game on Trevor Lawrence. They may even limit, once he gets out there, what they do with him just so they can spring as much as they can on Texas A&M that A&M won't be prepared for. So if Kelly goes into the Furman game as the starter, I would expect him to continue as the starter going into Texas A&M. And at any point, if the offense stalls under his direction, goes a quarter and a half, not getting touchdowns, not moving, then you might see them go to Trevor Lawrence in a serious manner.
And I think the other thing we have to think about, guys, is in a lot of occasions last year, may not be the occasion this year, but we can think about the ankle injury and what happened at Syracuse. And Kelly Bryant, in a lot of ways last year, Will and Corn, he was their best power back, which means at certain times in a ball game, he's going to put his body in jeopardy. So Lawrence better be ready in case he gets his bell rung or he hurts his ankle or whatever. He's got to have some playing time to get his feet wet.
He does, and I think, maybe it'll be something of the situation where they give him a series in the second quarter of maybe some of their non-conference games outside of the A&M game, and maybe give him some time while the game is quote unquote still in doubt, so that maybe he sees as much first-team reps as possible. I know that you risk disrupting the momentum there of the starting quarterback and disrupting things, but at the end of the day, Dabo Swinney has to do what's best for the future of this program, and what might be best for the future of this program is obviously what's going on with Trevor Lawrence and preparing him to take the helm, with the at least bare minimum of it being next year at the very latest. Still 19-4 Clemson after 5. We'll keep you updated on what's going on here in Hoover, and of course a big recruiting report next on Sports Talk.
I got the files you sent. Corn, can you hear me?
Yeah, what you got?
I said I got the files you sent.
All right. Tell Will to check his text messages. He's not hitting me back on my text messages. Let's do Kingston here. Let's do Kingston here. And then, oh, there he is. Okay. How long is the Kingston I sent you? Dun, 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 dun. Hey, Brian, how long is Kingston? You know off the top of your head?
Yeah, I said 256.
Oh, 256. Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I thought you heard me when I said it.
Sorry.
These guys, they never sleep. Check them out on the web at SportsTalkSC.com. Now, more of Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network.
Live from both ACC and SEC baseball tournaments. Will Palanchik, Phil Cohen, Blue Professor Tom Hayes here with you. Saw this come across today involving South Carolina Athletic Director Ray Tanner speaking about the Brian Bowen situation, and he says he doubts that they will get the kind of information from the NCAA that will allow Bowen to make the kind of decision that is well informed about the NBA, and still won't know about his eligibility moving forward. The deadline is a week from today, guys, and it seems to me that more and more it just seems that it's discouraging news when it comes to what's going on with him.
Yeah, I mean, the NCAA must be digging deeper into this thing than we think is reasonable. Maybe they've just got some information and some leads and stuff they think they've got to check out. I mean, on our end, from a media standpoint and from the fan standpoint, it's either, did the kid, his father, anybody there take money and knowingly take money and break the rules, or did they not? And if the kid knew nothing about it and wasn't involved, what have you, then by all means, he should be cleared and allowed to play. He's already missed one season of basketball because of this. I see no other reason to penalize the kid from that standpoint, if that's all there is to it. If you are to believe his story, then there is no other reason to continue this, and there should be no other conclusion reached than him being allowed to play basketball at South Carolina this year, if that's what he chooses. That is assuming the NCAA doesn't have something else. The fact that they haven't ruled leads me to believe that they've got other information that they were investigating, and they haven't completed their work just yet. And it's going to make it even more difficult for him to make a clear and knowledgeable decision before next week.
Well, I'm trying to think, Will, if looking into this case, they're not thinking of just keeping it open, because it may open some avenues for other investigations of other players who may be associated with the same guy who is associated with the shoe company. I don't know. But to me, it seems to me the NCAA, as short of Brian Bowen is asking him to come to a luau and tell him to take his shoes off and walk over a pallet of hot coals is what it seems to me they're doing at this point.
Yeah, it seems, again, very inconsistent with other rulings we've seen, and not being done with any kind of expediency involved. And, of course, I believe at the unfortunate expense of the young man's future. 21-4, Clemson leads Notre Dame right now. They play in the 6th inning. They've scored in each of the last 4 innings, 1 in the 3rd, 17 in the 4th, 1 in the 5th, and 1 in the 6th. Of course, Corn, last night it was South Carolina coming from behind on Missouri.
Yes, indeed. The Gamecocks trailed 2-0 to Missouri after 4. They scored a run in the 5th to make it 2-1. Then, as I recapped earlier, scored 3 in the 7th to go up 4-2. The relievers did their job, and the Gamecocks win it 4-2, 4-9-0 for USC. Missouri 2-4-1. It was Majinski starting for the Gamecocks. He went 5 innings, allowed 3 hits, 2 runs. Gilreath, Demurius, and Lawson finished up with 1 hit of relief, and it was Demurius picking up his 6th win and Lawson getting his 2nd save. Noah Campbell had a couple of hits for the Gamecocks. Tolbert as well. Taylor also had 2 hits, 9 hits on the night for the Gamecocks. They played airless baseball. Here is what Mark Kingston had to say to us in the wee hours of the morning after that victory.
So what's it like playing a game that late? You ever played that late?
No, I've never been a part of a game this late. What time is it? It's 2:47 back home in Columbia. I'm sure a lot of our faithful fans were still watching that till the very end because that's the kind of fans we have. So glad we were able to come out on top for
How
them.
did you keep the team focused and loose all day and prepared for
That's
this?
what we do. I mean, that's who we are. That's what we've evolved into. We love to play. We enjoy being together, coaches, players. It's just we want to continue to do this. And so to me, it's not a challenge at this point. The guys love playing. We play hard. We didn't play as smart as we normally do tonight. We didn't play a perfect game, but we found a way to win, and that's what matters.
You faced a couple of guys that did well against you in Columbia. Were you getting a little worried as the game moved on about breaking through against these guys?
Well, the good thing is we were pitching well, so the game was within striking distance. You know, if a lot of these Tuesday games, it started to get away from us a little bit, and then you feel like, it's just not our night. But our pitching did a really nice job tonight of keeping it close, keeping it within striking distance, and then we were able to find a way later in the game.
How did you think Carmen pitched tonight?
I thought that was, under the circumstances, I thought that was his best outing of the year. He went 3 scoreless, 3 perfect innings. He attacked the zone. He had good stuff. He didn't leave anything out there. You know, we told him before the game, you don't know if you're going to throw 2 or 5 innings, but on every pitch, we want max effort. And I thought it really showed tonight. His stuff was the best it's been all year, and he looked like a confident guy out there. So not only was that important for us tonight, but I think that will pay dividends for us down the road with him as well.
The bullpen locked it down again.
Yeah, our bullpen, obviously, you know, I think we've done a nice job of you know, putting guys in spots where they can be successful, you know, get them in, have success, and then pass it on to the next guy. So that's been our formula for the great majority of the season, and that was no different tonight.
What do you think about the at-bats there in the 7th, I think it was, when we scored the 3 runs?
Yeah, I mean, we had some innings where we let the bases loaded situation slip away, but it's you're facing good pitching, and it's a tough game. So you just have to keep pushing, keep taking good at bats, and then you hope sooner or later you break through, and that's what happened.
You know, Arkansas later tonight, you had a great series against them. Fayetteville, Arkansas, really good series, but just facing Casey Murphy, the lefty who really had your number in Fayetteville.
Yeah, well, it seems like every time we play now we're facing lefty, but it's another opportunity to play and get on the field and get better. So we'll attack that game like we do every game.
What happened there in the 7th at the plate and then in the 8th inning?
Just a baseball play, and you know, guys get a little emotional, and you know, it was a non-issue after that. I'll get with the staff. We'll talk about it. I just want to make sure we know how everybody feels. So we're not prepared yet to tell to name a starter.
You sent TJ out late for defense. Is he anywhere near being able to help you completely?
No, not yet. That's his capacity in terms of being able to help us right now. Pinch runner and defensive replacement.
All right, that's Mark Kingston, USC baseball coach, following the Gamecocks' win last night over Missouri. The Gamecocks in Arkansas will be coming up later on tonight after this LSU-Florida game, which will be getting underway in about 10 or 15 minutes from now. Let's give you the recruiting report for tonight. And, of course, we begin with the information on Josh Belk. By the way, they have hired a very talented DJ to play music here at the stadium in between games, and he really jacks that music up pretty loud if you haven't noticed. But I have to admit, it's pretty entertaining to have the hits that he's playing, giving us some sort of an interlude between batters and in between innings. Anyway, Josh Belk visited USC this morning. He will go to Georgia tomorrow. We spoke to him last night before the visit to USC today, and he goes back to when he was being recruited by USC previously. He said his crystal ball was 100% Carolina. He said he had a closet full of Carolina stuff before he committed to Clemson in January of 2017. And he wanted this visit today to be about rekindling the relationship that he had with Will Muschamp and the staff from his earlier recruiting. He also, of course, liked the city atmosphere. He likes what they're doing with their facilities, the new dorms, the new football facilities, things of that nature. As for Georgia, the defensive line coach there, Trey Scott, recruited him when he was at North Carolina, and they developed a close relationship. So Scott reached out to Belk, and because they had that prior relationship, that's why he's going to visit Georgia. So, you know, the traveling thing, the distance from home, I asked him if he's putting a limit on how far he's willing to travel. He said, I'm not sure. It depends on what's happening with my family. He said, I've got some things to talk about and see what is the best move. He said 15 to 20 schools have contacted him since his transfer. I know we got a break coming up, Will. We'll come back with more of the recruiting after the top of the hour break if you want to take us to that.
21-4 in favor of Clemson at the end of 5.5 here. We'll continue more on both from the ACC and SEC when we come back here on Sports Talk.
Ew, Corn. Corn, can you hear me?
The shortstop, number 8, Deacon Wicket. Batting second, the designated hitter, number 27, Nelson Maldonado. Batting third, playing third base, number 6, Jonathan India.